Okay, here we have the industrial period, and this is likely to come up in most exam papers because it has such significance in terms of urbanisation and the changes to the police. Okay, let's have a look. Start off by having a look at society. So this period really is dominated by the Industrial Revolution and all that. Bring the mines, the factories, the urbanisation, railways being developed. But urbanisation really is the key to this. And we look at these figures here, we've got a significant change here from only 6 million population in 1750, and then 21 million 1850, and up to 37 million by 1900. So an increase over that 150-year period by over 6 times. By 1850, totally new towns of Manchester, Birmingham, Bradford, Leeds had emerged. More people, for the first time ever, are living in urban rather than rural areas. Meanwhile, in these cities, the gap between the rich and the poor widened. Rich move out of the inner cities, poor moved into them in horrible, squalid conditions, often sharing courtyards and toilets, back-to-back houses. Same time, the British Empire grows to include Australia, and that's going to be important in a moment. Democracy becomes important, and we have this key change here in the Enlightenment, which for human beings really there's a move away from religion and more questioning what it actually means to be human. We've got Bentham there talking about the greatest happiness for the greatest number, and we'll see how true that bears out. Literacy increases during this time period, and that's linked to the 1870 Education Act, which means school is compulsory for under 10s. Many are addicted to alcohol in the slums, leading to a temperance movement. That is to try to persuade people to stop using alcohol. But for many, alcohol is a way out of their misery. So we see a gradual increase in crime to begin with in the 1750s, and then a sharp rise in the early 1800s, particularly after 1815, as soldiers return from the Napoleonic Wars. And then we see a fall again with the new police forces. So here we go, as the new police forces start coming in, they start to decrease. Most of the crimes of this period are crimes to do with petty theft, and they're opportunistic. Only 10% of the crimes are violent, and even then, most people know they're murder victims. 75% of offenders are men, and they are very much linked in many ways towards the poverty. The inaccessible city areas, city centres are very difficult. The wages fall between 1815 and 1822 as soldiers return from the Napoleonic War. They can't find a job. And now, with increased education, more people are scared by the idea of the criminal class almost, believed in these penny dreadful, these stories that appear in these cheap newspapers, stories about criminals which terrify the middle classes. Now we have a fight back here in the enforcement, a major change in enforcement here. First of all, the Bow Street Runners and the magistrates, Sir John Fielding in London. 1754 set up basically a court which becomes similar to a police station. However, his plans for this becoming nationwide are rejected. He does also publish a magazine from 1775 onward which looks to track the numbers and figures of crime, and the government is persuaded to support that with 400 quid put into it each year. However, the major change comes in 1829 with Sir Robert Peel and the Metropolitan Police. Based in London with 3,000 people, 2 commissioners run it. They're deliberately dressed up to not look like soldiers. They've got the dark blue hats, they've got no weapons. And this does spread throughout the country. However, if we look at the dates of these here, we have to be aware that this is a slow change. Change to towns from 1835, then we got the rural that goes in the counties, and the County and Police Borough Police Act. But it's slow, but it's steady, and it's important, and it does make a difference to crime. Now, for the first time, probably, we got streets being patrolled and actually crime looking to be prevented rather than just chased up. And it's likely that the police were responsible for the drop in crime rate after 1850. So they remove prostitutes, they remove vagrants and drunks, they stop illegal drinking and gambling. And then we have a step up in the pace of detecting crime. The detectives introduced to the Met in 1842. 1880s, we've got 800 working in the CID, the Criminal Investigation Department. They use photographs, and from 1897 they use fingerprints. Few changes in the court system actually. Still being tried in assizes and quarter sessions, but from now on we've got lawyers representing both sides. So we've got the basis of our modern court system. Now hanging, recent changes in hanging here. So hangings had been taking place on hanging days, really famous days where people would gather, flat prison roofs, people would go out to watch them. We got changes now with the 1866 scene, the new drop, and then 1874 the long drop, which changed from being a slow strangulation to an immediate death. However, with the Enlightenment, fewer executions occur from the beginning of the 19th century. So 1871, 1800 to 1809, that drops by almost a third. 1830 to 1839. It also means that we remove letter stealing, arson and other issues as capital offences. But with that, we get the move towards prisons, and prisons become a lot harsher. With there's a little period of time where flogging is dropped and then it's brought right back. And 1865 Prisons Act deliberately tries to make food monotonous. We have plank beds replacing hammocks to make it more uncomfortable, and the amount of pointless work. So here we have people on a treadmill on this picture here, and you know it's an unpleasant, it's deliberately unpleasant experience, prison. We have a new move here towards transportation. 160,000 convicts are transported, with the peak being 1830, around 5,000 per year in that period there. Most of the people sent on these transports had stolen food or low value items. Young age, they're only 26. They would go for 7 years or 14 years or lifetime. Punishments would see them hit with lashes, and even when their time period finished, few could afford to return home. By the 1830s, there's a real debate going on. Some people see it as too harsh, some people see it as too soft, and some people just say you just shouldn't be sending convicts to the colony. What chance has it got of surviving? So from 1840s, there are fewer being transported, and it's ended in 1868. Of course, that puts the pressure back on prisons. We have a move now to reform prisons under Sir John Howard. The Discharge Prison Act abolishes discharge fees, so you don't have to pay to get out of prison anymore. And he tries to improve the health of prisoners with the Health of Prisoners Act. Prisons are cleaned, and his book on how prisons should be dealt with, the state of prisons, influenced the idea of separation for sick prisoners, bringing in adequate food, and living jailers who could look after the prisoners. Elizabeth Fry is another reformer who focuses on Newgate Women's Prison. She encouraged them to read the Bible, divides them into 12, and they were overseen. So it's some sort of rehabilitation. However, this doesn't last forever, because after 1811, the Millbank Penitentiary, which had been a reforming prisoner, disaster and is closed down. From 1823, the Jail Act looked for JPs to regulate and check on prisons with regular visits by governors and by surgeons, although that's not always carried out. There weren't any official inspectors until 1835. Now, the decline of the transportation leads to a further 50 prisons opening, and by 1877 we have 90 prisons. And the treatment really of prisoners, as we can see in this drawing, it goes back to being very harsh, with separate, so they're separated, and then the silent treatment, so they're not allowed to talk at all. And we get increased pointless work such as the crank and the treadmill.